Behind closed doors, a loving daughter betrayed the trust of her parents for selfish gain. But how did she keep the truth hidden for so long? And what finally led to her capture? On June 19, 2019, 70-year-old John McCullough took a sip of alcohol, not knowing it would be his last, as his daughter, Virginia McCullough, slipped prescription drugs into his drink, after which she hid his corpse in an improvised tomb covered in blankets and paintings. On June 20, 2019, 71-year-old Lois McCullough met the same fate as she was brutally attacked with a hammer and fatally stabbed, after which her body was hidden behind sleeping bags and a duvet in her house and left to rot. This was just around the time the country was about to experience serious lockdowns due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which allowed the bodies of the McCulloughs to remain undetected in their home in Pump Hill. This went on for 4 years, and the bodies were not discovered, with Virginia having to lie to cover her tracks and evade suspicion. But in 2023, everything came crumbling down. Before the murders, Virginia seemed to have a great life and relationship with her parents. She was living with them at the time and enjoyed several benefits while doing so. Virginia was what some would call a struggling artist, and she was drowning in debt and maxing out several credit cards owned by her parents. To make things worse, she wrote fake letters and tried convincing her parents that they had been scammed of some money while taking the money. After murdering her parents, Virginia felt no remorse and continued to get deeper in debt using her parents' credit cards. And when that was not enough, she started spending their pensions, reaching amounts close to £50,000. During those times, she evaded family gatherings by giving excuses about her parents feeling unwell. To further sell her lie, Virginia made calls and sent texts using her deceased mother's phone, pretending to be her. At first, people believed this ruse until an ongoing rental subscription initiated a series of events that exposed Virginia. While her parents were still alive, a man named Alan Thompson rented them a television, and Virginia immediately canceled the rental, which made Alan send his staff to pick up the TV. On getting to the house, Virginia refused them entry and told them the television was already at the front door. Paul Hastings, a vegetable retailer, noticed that he had not seen Lois and John in a while, although Virginia told him that her parents had moved out of the area. People started to pay more attention to Virginia and noticed that she frequented one shop several times a day and then vanished for weeks. She also had moments when she would fake a pregnancy, and her neighbors noticed she never opened the curtains. In September 2023, a general practitioner in charge of John and Lois noticed they had been absent for a while, and John had not picked up his medication or attended any appointments. Out of concern, the practitioner voiced his concerns to the Essex County Council safeguarding team, and the police were immediately involved in the case. An investigation was launched, labeling John and Lois missing. Virginia, attempting to save herself, quickly told the police that her parents were on a trip and would be back the following month. The officers felt something was off and swept her story under the rug, and the case became a murder inquiry, and a search warrant was obtained to search the house. On September 15, 2023, the Essex police breached the back door of the Pump Hill property and apprehended Virginia. Surprisingly, she did not resist, and she led the officers into the kitchen and confessed the location of her father's body upstairs. Virginia was interrogated about her father's murder, and she admitted to poisoning his drinks with crushed-up prescription drugs and mentioned that he did not consume all the drinks she prepared. After the confession, Virginia signed a statement and also tried to crack a joke, hoping to lighten the mood by saying she was not completely evil, but she recognized that she had to face the consequences of what she had done. After the terrible joke, Virginia led the police to where they could find the bank cards of her parents and admitted to all the money she had spent over the years hiding their bodies. She was taken to the police station where she confessed more and told the police about the murder weapon and its location. It was a kitchen knife she had hidden upstairs on a brown carpet against the wall, along with a hammer that would still have traces of blood. After the murder weapons were discovered, she was taken to HMP Peterborough, where she would await her trial. Virginia McCullough admitted to 2 counts of murder at Chelmsford Crown Court on June 4, 2024, and was remanded in custody ahead of sentencing. The prosecutors didn't hold back and applied for Virginia to be sentenced to life in prison without parole because they believed that she had enough time to think and plan the murders before taking action. The prosecutors also believed that Virginia had backup plans set in place in case her plan failed. Virginia had no expression on her face during the proceedings, and some would believe she didn't care. But this belief was shattered when her original police interview with the police was played by the court and she started to cry. In that interview, she looked innocent as she sat quietly and listened to the radio while telling the police she needed the courage to commit the crimes she did. The prosecutors also didn't take it lightly with her and cited Virginia's fraudulent activities. She had raked up a total of $135,900 in charges and lied to her parents about her employment status when she told them she was working without pay. Virginia was perceived as a socially awkward liar by her siblings, and their statements were read in court. One of the siblings expressed heartbreak, feeling that their parents didn't care about them, not knowing that Virginia had been lying, pretending to be John and Lois. Another sibling described the whole situation as a living nightmare and was haunted by thoughts of whether their parents suffered before they were murdered. During the sentencing, Virginia's uncle spoke up, stating that Virginia spread terrible lies to cover her actions, and this made him lose faith in humanity. He also shared that he missed out on precious moments he could have had with his sister and her husband because of Virginia's wicked actions. He capped it up by calling her manipulative and stating she could have something planned while in custody. The prosecution had dealt a heavy blow, but the defense still had hopes of cushioning the blow of the sentence Virginia was to serve. Attorney Christine Agnew stated that a life sentence without parole was not justified, although she said this while hinting that she had no intention of diminishing the loss experienced by the family. She also emphasized that Virginia was to be punished for her actions and tried to use medical reasons to defend her client by stating Virginia was autistic. This autism was said to be the reason for her paranoia and tendencies to harm herself while living with her parents. Agnew also pointed out that Virginia cooperated with the police and did not resist the moment they arrived. On October 11, 2024, the judge acknowledged the degree of premeditation that went into these offenses. He also highlighted the accumulation of prescription drugs and the purchase of a knife and tablet-crushing devices in May 2019. The judge then concluded that Virginia's act of drugging her father was merely a test and that she had a backup plan involving deadly weapons if the drugging plans failed. He also stated that her parents did not deserve what happened to them and deserved to feel safe in the comfort of their home with their daughter. As the judge made the sentence known, he mentioned that life imprisonment was the only appropriate sentence, but the minimum term was considered as well. At the end of the sentencing, Virginia McCullough was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 36 years. The judge also considered her cooperation with the police and her guilty pleas, which contributed to his decision of ruling that Virginia would not spend the rest of her life in prison. After having served time on remand, she would have 34 years and 341 days until she could be considered for release as part of her life sentence for murder. After Virginia's sentencing, Detective Rob Kirby of the Essex Police made a statement about Virginia's case. He spoke about her actions and described them as carefully planned and cold-blooded, also highlighting how she put a lot of effort into covering up her crimes for as long as she could. This was the behavior of someone who had taken time to plan these murders with the intent of personal gain while living just meters away from the bodies of her victims. The detective also mentioned that throughout the investigation, several things were discovered, including how grand the level of manipulation and fraud was. He emphasized that she lied about almost every aspect of her life, which allowed her to take advantage of her innocent parents and did not care about their lives or the suffering that would be experienced by those left behind. In a statement, the family paid tribute to their parents and thanked the Essex Police for seeking justice. They admired the tireless work of the major investigation team that played a major role in the case. They also talked a bit about their father and described him as caring and hardworking, with a passion for writing and education, while remembering memories of how jovial he was and how much he laughed. They also spoke about their mother and said she was thoughtful, kind, and very devoted to her grandchildren. As the family reminisced about their parents, they also spoke about the seaside trips and the plans they had of moving to the coast in retirement. John and Lois were what one would call wonderful parents, and their absence left a huge void in the hearts of everyone, and it was quite cruel that their lives were cut short just like that. Although some might argue that there was a deeper reason for Virginia's actions, it was clearly just an act of selfishness. Her lies eventually caught up with her, and her sentence was well deserved. And to John and Lois McCullough, rest in perfect peace.